Hey everybody, my name is Anthony, and in today's video I'm excited to showcase my very first league race just ever. You know, I've never done a league race before, so I'm very excited to show you this. And this is WOR Season 7, I'm not sure what round it is, but we're at Japan. And coming into this, I did do a little bit of preparation because it was my first race. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get a lot of preparation going for a lot of the races moving forward, but I managed to find some time to put in some laps around time trials and just get myself familiar with the guys in the league, because I'm in the F4 tier for WOR, and the F4 tier is an assist tier. However, as you can see, I don't use assist. I'm just really slow in comparison to the non-assist drivers in like your F2 and your F1 tiers, so they placed me in this tier, and I thought to myself, you know what, instead of being downhearted about it, there's, you know, the best way to go about it is just to, you know, join this tier and get experience just driving in league races. So yeah, and as you can see, this lap here, it looks like a solid lap, but for some reason I don't know, I was driving so slow during this qualifying and just during the race as well, because my fastest time around Japan, it's actually a 28.007. So, you know, I'm nearly at that 27 mark. It's just, I don't know, for some reason I was just driving really slow. And I think my first time there's a 29.4, I'm not too sure. And you can see now as I cross the line, I get a 29.0, which is a full second, you know, slower than what I could do. And yeah, I wanted to showcase this because I don't know what happened here. I think the Racing Point had a little crash going into the pit lane, and it just caused this. I've never seen anything like this before, so I thought I'd just throw it in the video. It was very weird, and as you can see, my mic there in the top right hand corner is going crazy because I was just so confused about what that was. But as you can see, we qualified in, I want to say P7. So yeah, it does show that there is quite a discrepancy in terms of the times between the guys. It's not as close as it would be in like the F1 tier, for example, because I was a full second behind Paul, which was done by Griffiths, who was actually live streaming this. And yeah, you know, to be in P7, you know, that's sort of like looking towards the real life discrepancy between the F1 cars. Whereas, you know, in the F1 game, you're really used to the times being very close. So anyways, you got the 5 lights and away we go. So coming into this, I was very nervous. I was very nervous. I'm just a nervous person in general, so, you know, when it comes to these sort of things, I do tend to get quite nervous just because I want to do really well, and I'm the type of person, I put myself to really high standards. I probably shouldn't do that because it is a bad habit. You know, you should always put yourself to a higher standard, but I feel as if the standard I put myself to is too high. So yeah, you know, coming off the first corner, actually, nobody crashed, which was surprising because you usually see crashes. It doesn't matter what tier it is. I mean, I've seen crashes at turn 1 from the F1 guys, so, you know, it was quite weird that nobody crashed. But coming into this corner now, you can see there's a little bit of an incident going on with Insomnia, and well, yeah, I don't know if you noticed that. I'm going to slow it down here, and yeah, I shift down to first gear, and for some reason, I don't really know what to say, to be honest to that. The amount of times I actually go into neutral gear whilst just not paying attention is ridiculous, and I ended up losing a bunch of places. However, this Ferrari, I think it was an illegal overtake for some reason on me, so he ended up giving me back the position, and now we're in P10, so we're at the tail end of the points positions. And I just wanted to get my head down at this point to just try and salvage whatever the hell just happened there, because I ended up losing 3 places just on this lap alone. And obviously losing 3 places, well, losing 1 place is pretty bad, let alone losing 3 places on the first lap. So I think after this, after we cross the line here, I think I skip forward. I don't think I stay on board. I have to quickly check here. Yeah, so we skip over to lap 3, and by this point I had made a couple of positions, but this just shows how slow I was. You may see here in front of me, that's actually Insomnia. He actually had that incident on lap 1, and he actually managed to pass me again just because of how slow I was driving. I feel as if there was a mental block going, like I feel as if I had a mental block on myself because it was my first race and I just wanted to finish the race. So I wasn't driving anywhere near what the limit was for me. I feel as if, you know, my pace could have been probably almost a full second quicker than what it ended up being just around this track. I don't know, I don't know what really was going through my mind at that point in terms of, you know, how slow I was driving. It's just a mental block, I guess. But I'm hoping that, I think this week we're racing at Mexico, so I'm hoping that I can at least show some pace there. Mexico isn't necessarily one of my better tracks. It's, I want to say that the latter half of the track, so you're looking at Mexico, US, Brazil, Abu Dhabi, Singapore, those type of tracks are not tracks that I often race on, so I do need a little bit more practice on those tracks versus something like Australia or Austria or even Silverstone. So yeah, even Japan actually I did end up practicing a lot more than I was expecting to, just because I wanted to, you know, just get used to the track, because I don't use the racing line. So, you know, going into a track, if I'm not familiar with it, obviously I have to learn it as quickly as possible, especially if I'm going to be doing these races every Thursday. But yeah, I think we've jump cutted actually to lap 8 already, and by this point, as you can see, I'm in P5. I think that's because some people had pitted. I'm not too sure, but I think that's GTR or JRT, I'm not sure. I think that's JRT Insomnia behind me. Again, that just shows how slow I was driving, because in practice, one of the practice sessions I did was with Insomnia, and you know, we were quite similar in pace. He was a little bit faster than me. I think that's just generally because he's been playing longer than me, because I did have a conversation with him about how long he's been playing versus how long I've been playing, and you know, it actually got to the point where he was a little bit shocked by just how little I've actually played the game versus my current skill level. So I feel as if I'm doing okay with that, but you can see, you know, he was just so much quicker than me, whereas in practice our pace was quite similar. And I think we jump cut here to lap 10. This is when I end up pitting, because the strategy I was going on was softs to mediums, which in hindsight, looking at what ended up happening, it probably wasn't the best idea. I think Griffiths ended up winning this race, and he went from mediums to soft, so maybe I should have done that, but you know, it was my first race, so I thought what I'll do is I'll just look at what the F1 guys were doing and just copy their strategy, because I didn't really know much about the whole tyre strategy and stuff. But going back to what I was saying, yeah, during practice with Insomnia, I want to say our pace was, you know, within a few tenths of each other each lap, but in this race, I don't know, he just was able to bring the full extent of his pace out, and this just shows because he ended up undercutting the Haas, whereas the Haas ended up overcutting me, even though I was only less than a second behind Insomnia by the time we had pitted just 3 laps prior. So yeah, it really just shows, I don't know, I know I keep repeating myself, but I don't know if it was my pace or maybe it was my fuel mix, because I noticed that when I was rewatching this before I had edited it, that I'd actually turned down the ERS a lot sooner than I usually would. Usually I would turn down the ERS going straight into the corner. But yeah, I think this... Oh yeah, I wanted to highlight this because I was going to appeal this. Obviously with what ended up happening, I didn't end up appealing it. But I went out wide there and I got a warning. And obviously I couldn't come back onto the track. So when I came back onto the track, it gave me another warning and then just instantly gave me a 3-second time penalty. So I was going to appeal that, but I decided not to because of what ended up happening, which you'll see in a few laps times anyway. But we ended up a lap later overtaking the Haas. He was pretty slow, even relative to how slow I was driving. So I felt as if, you know, if I passed him, I could try and catch Insomnia if I could. That was just the mindset going behind that. Usually I would, I'm very passive when it comes to my driving, mainly because I don't have that experience yet. But you know, I was very passive going into it, so I'd usually let people pass me in order to use them to be quicker. But in this case with the Haas, I thought, you know what, he's slower than me clearly in this race, so I overtook him and I just tried to push towards Insomnia, but clearly, you know, with me driving at probably what would be 80% of my full potential, it just wasn't cutting it. So yeah, we're actually watching my fastest lap of the race right now, which I ended up speaking to Griffiths about, and he said it was a decent time. I've personally never used mediums on this track. Usually when I was doing career mode and stuff and I would go on this track, it was usually like a soft to hard for me because I was doing like 100% races a lot of the time. But yeah, I think this is a 30. I actually can't even see the time here. Yeah, I can't see the time. I don't know if it's a 32 or a 30. I'll obviously end up seeing once the video is rendered, but yeah, coming into lap 17 now. This is where things go horribly wrong, and yeah, I end up spinning out, and that is my race finished. That's the first race finished. And I want to show you a little something here. Usually when coming into this corner at the end of sector 1, I go in standard fuel mix and high ERS, but as you can see, I'd actually put it on high fuel mix, and I think that's actually what led for me spinning out. So yeah, you know, as much as it sucks, that's my first race finished. So yeah, I'm pretty much going to leave it here. It was a good experience and I definitely learned a lot from it. So I'm definitely going to be sticking with it and doing WOR every Thursday. So I'm going to be streaming that. So I'll leave my mixer link in the description below. So if you like the league racing, because this is what my channel was really alluding to in the first place, if you like league racing highlights, then definitely hit the like button and subscribe, because each and every week I'm going to be publishing a new highlights video from my league races. For now, I'm going to be sticking with WOR. But soon enough, I'm going to join another league as well, so I'll have 2 leagues to showcase each and every week. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in my next one.